Hello, my name's Jenny and I'm 27 years old. 3 years ago, I married the most beautiful person I have ever met, Hugo. He's such a kind and compassionate goofy who makes me feel amazing every day. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for his mother, Maria, aka my mother-in-law. She for some reason has always had it out for me since day one. I get it. That's her precious baby boy, and she doesn't want to see him get hurt. She's just interested in protecting his best interests, but I genuinely believe that she takes things overboard sometimes. She's the type of person who does seemingly small and innocuous injustices to people. In reality, she deliberately pushes your buttons and gets on your nerves to make you seem like you're the crazy one. I know we all know someone like that in our lives. Unfortunately, I have to deal with this person because she's my mother-in-law. Anyhow, I was raised differently. I'm the type of person who calls people out on their nonsense and tends not to hold back. I think this is why Hugo fell in love with my personality, because he's more of a quiet, soft-spoken person, and just like the saying goes, opposites do indeed attract. I studied a bit of psychology, so believe me when I say that I know that Mariah, my mother-in-law, has bad intentions. I think both of our domineering personalities clash, which is probably why she said this the first time I met her. Jenny, don't you think it's time to stop eating so much? The whole table at the restaurant sucked in air, daring not to speak. I was completely mortified, and I'm sure my pale complexion was a great indicator of how embarrassed and flushed I was. It was me, Hugo, who was my boyfriend at the time, Kyle, my father-in-law, and Maria at the table. Kyle was too stunned to speak, and he bowed his head as if he was sharing my embarrassment. Hugo was also feeling embarrassed but angry at his mother for saying that. He aptly berated her. Really, Mom? That is such an awful thing to say. She can eat as much as she wants to. Oh no, sweetie. I didn't mean any harm. I just wanted to look out for you, you know. I've noticed that you've been gaining a lot of weight. Hugo has been showing me your photos from when you were younger, and you looked so much better than now. Not that now you don't look good, but I don't mean to be offensive, sweetheart. I'm just trying to give you some advice. I tried my best to remain calm as I didn't want to cause a scene, but my embarrassment quickly started to turn into irritation. Nonetheless, because this was my first time meeting the family and I wanted to make a lasting impression, I held my tongue. I just smiled at her politely and thanked her for the unsolicited advice. Solicited advice situations like that grew in frequency and strength as we got to know each other more. I genuinely believed that the taunting would stop at some point after she had determined that I was good for her son, but it only appeared to be getting worse. I was beginning to get along fine with my father-in-law, Kyle, who is the sweetest man on earth. I see where Hugo gets it from. As much as I was growing closer to everyone else in Hugo's family, Maria appeared to be the only one who disliked me, and for no apparent reason as well. I even got introduced to Jack, who was Hugo's childhood friend, and they grew up together. Kyle and Maria practically considered him as a second son. As even though Hugo's whole heart was open to me, and it appeared as though his family accepted me with open arms, it was just Mariah who had an issue with me. I'm so grateful for the love and support I managed to identify from the vast and overwhelming majority of Hugo's family. I received this love and support up until my wedding day, where my mother-in-law, of course, tried to do something conniving to get me to look bad on my special day. She made it a point to be as bothersome and as ridiculous as she could be. Honestly, she was acting like a bridezilla. No, her hair is supposed to be in an updo, just like how I did on my wedding day. I appreciate the help, Maria, but I want my hair to look like this. Pon? Oh no, darling, no. I just mean that you can look so much better than you do now, and I would just like to say that I see a lot of myself in Jenny. She is such a bright young woman, and even though I look much better than she did at her age, I would like to say that she is beautiful in her way. Although my father-in-law managed to get my mother-in-law to stop her ruthless antics on the day, the pain and bitterness I felt was not in my nature to remain silent and unresponsive. I was losing my firecracker energy. This woman was slowly draining me, and it had to be put to an end. Fast forward 3 years to where the events of today's story take place. We were all sitting at the dining table of Hugo's childhood home, where his parents still live, on a Sunday night. My mother-in-law had graciously invited us over, including Jack, meaning it must have been something important she wanted to tell us all. Although I had suspicions about her randomly making this dinner plan, which later on were affirmed, it was a pleasant surprise. At some point, the ball dropped, and this is the beginning of what turned out to be a very interesting conversation. This was a very messy series of events. My mother-in-law started to gather everyone's attention as she had an important announcement to make. She pulled out a paper and started reading it. Attention, everyone. I have an announcement to make. As you all know, my birthday is coming up, and so I wanted to let you know what I've been planning for this special day. I decided that we're going to take a trip to Hawaii. The paper was a confirmation of the Hawaii trip. That sounds fantastic. What? That's amazing, Jenny. I've always wanted to go to Hawaii. My goodness, this is great news. I'm so excited. I don't even know what to say. Thanks so much, Maeve. Oh, Ashley, you're not going. Honey, what are you talking about? As wasn't part of the plan. I made some last-minute arrangements and managed to cancel her ticket before they gave us extra charges. Oh, so my ticket was already bought, and she just went ahead and canceled it. What is this woman? Hate me so much? Mom, what are you talking about? Jack and I seem to be the only ones silent in this whole situation as a flurry of harsh words was exchanged back and forth.
I'll tell you the reason why I thought it best that Jenny sits this family event out. As you all know, I'm getting a little bit older, and I've decided that I want the remaining years of my life to be centered on being around the people I care most about. Unfortunately, Jenny just doesn't belong on that list.
Wow, Mont, really? What is wrong with you?
Nothing is wrong with me. Don't you dare disrespect me. Shandro, I'm just saying that, well, you know, Johnny can't be considered part of our family since she's not related by blood.
Well, by that logic, then Jack shouldn't be able to go either, right? Since he isn't technically family as you're stating. But we all know that's preposterous, and he is part of the family. reason ever since Hugo and Jenny got married. That means she is part of the family.
Well, obviously with Jack, it's different. And you know that he's just so precious, and he's our sweet baby angel. He's always been here.
So that's why I'm just not comfortable with her coming on the trip. And it's my birthday, so I get to decide whatever we want. Come on, Jenny, we're leaving at once. No, little girl, you better watch the way you speak to me. You are in my house, and not for long. I'm not. I'm just about to leave, actually, but not before I say this. I turn to my loving husband, who's looking at his mother with angry eyes. Babe, I love you with my whole heart, and I have tried to endure this for such a long time. With my whole heart, and I have tried to endure this for such a long time. Perhaps impatient, but I see now that your mother will never accept me into this family. No matter how hard I try and no matter how many times I bite my tongue, you should go on this trip. You can't miss it. As much as your mother is crazy, she's still your mother, and you love her and she loves you. See, you have to go. Don't worry about me. Give her long pieces. I then turned to my mother-in-law, whose mouth was agape because of what I just said. And as for you, unfortunately for you, I'm in love with your son, and I am not going anywhere. You might think that you can push me away, but I will always be here. Even when you go to Hawaii, you will always be thinking about me, because if I'm being honest, I think you are obsessed with me. How dare you? I should slap you right now. I'm not finished. You are obsessed with me. You're obsessed with tearing me down, and I cannot even imagine why when all I've done is shown you kindness and patience even when you didn't deserve it. But enough is enough. You don't want me to go to Hawaii with you. Fine. You don't think I'm part of the family. Fine. But I will always be here as long as I breathe. I will always be here for Hugo, Kyle, and even Jack, but never for you. At that moment, I realized that I finally shut her up. She left her mouth open as if she was searching for something to say. Anything to say, but her mind wouldn't let her. Finally, I managed to keep her quiet. I said goodbye to the rest of the family members, kissed my husband on the cheek, and began to walk out. Let me drive you home at least. Please don't worry about me, babe. I can't let you take a cab. You have a trip to discuss. Okay, if you say you'll be fine, and I'll believe you. Oh, don't forget your purse. Right, my purse. I left it in the kitchen. Once I arrived at some point, though, Maria went into the kitchen, I think to catch her breath after the whole situation. After being berated like that, I too would have done something similar. What do you want? Don't worry about me, sweetheart. I'm just here to collect my things. Well, make it quick. I want you out of my house. I can't believe you said those things to me. At that, she quickly stormed out, filled with so much anger that she didn't even want to see me out the door. At that moment, I scoffed at her ridiculousness and reached for my purse. When I noticed a piece of paper next to it, my eyes glanced over it, and I noticed that it was Maria's handwriting. I believed at the time that it must have been a piece of paper detailing the itinerary for the trip because I was feeling slightly bitter about not going. I wanted to take a peek and see just how much fun I'd be missing out on. I grabbed it and began to read the paper. Dear Jack, you know that you have always been like a son to me, and you know that I love you dearly. Oh, so this is a letter to Jack. A bit strange, but I guess it's thoughtful. For some reason, my curious eyes began to read further. It's the love and care you have shown for me throughout the years will never be forgotten. Alxigons, I hate to admit it, but even when it comes to my son Hugo, I feel as though the love we once shared is no longer there. Wait, what is she saying? She loves Jack more than she loves Hugo. That simply couldn't be. I continued to read the paper, and with each new line, I got more astonished at what I was reading. I simply couldn't believe it. There was a lot to unpack, and even though it wasn't my place to read that letter, I'm really glad that I did. After reading the entirety of the letter, I began to pace in the kitchen, wondering what to do. And then it hit me. As all of the people who needed to know about this letter's existence were all sitting in that room. If ever there was a time to act, it was now. I read the letter one more time just to make sure that I wasn't crazy and imagining things. And just as I thought, yep, it was the same thing I read the first time. I waltzed out into the dining room to meet only 3 pairs of eyes looking back at me. Jenny, I am so sorry for what my wife is trying to put you through. Don't worry one bit. You will come with us to Hawaii. As long as I'm around, she's just in a funk right now. But don't worry, I'll convince her to change her mind. I told her, I don't know what's gotten into her recently, but don't worry, I will change her mind as I said.
Please don't worry about me.
As I said, I'm fine. I'm more than fine because I have found some interesting news that I need to share with everyone, and I especially need to share it with Hugo.
What is it?
Hugo and Jack's ears perked up. I saw the flash of worry that ran across Hugo's face. Perhaps he thought that this was too much for me to handle and that I wanted to ask for a divorce. Sometimes when I would complain up his mother to him, he'd agree with me and wonder how I managed to keep up with her nonsense for so long. I'd always tell him that it was because I loved him way too much to let him go, and that I'd go to hell and back for him. I've been so curtainy. I mentioned earlier that she appears to be in a bit of a funk after you shouted at her.
She said she got a mild headache and wanted to nurse it with a nap upstairs. She won't be down for a while.
You know how she gets about her beauty sleep. At Shen, I was all too familiar with Maria's awkward and unnecessary routines and regimes that would often inconvenience others. I harbored an irritation. This is just really important. She has to be here. It's okay, Jenny. You can tell us, and we'll inform her when she wakes up. I hesitated, considering the information that I knew. I wanted to see the redness on her face from embarrassment. I think you should just go ahead and tell us, sweetie. It's okay, and you know Hugo has anxiety. It would be bad to keep him waiting. That's true. Hugo's anxiety got really bad at times, and I could see him begin to fidget from the anticipation. Okay, fine. I'll show you guys what I found when I was in the kitchen, collecting my purse and getting ready to leave. I found something interesting that I think you all need to know about. I pulled out the paper I found and began to read. It reads, Dearest Jack, you know that you have always been like a son to me, and you know that I love you dearly. And the love and care you have shown for me throughout the years will never be forgotten. What is she saying? What is this? I continued reading. Hugo, I just don't see eye to eye like we used to. And honestly, I think it's because of Jenny. Ever since he married that girl, he no longer has time for me. He doesn't love me, and therefore I don't think I love him. I love you, and you are my son. With that being said, I want to let you know that I am going to update my will so that you inherit all of my belongings and not Hugo. I know it might hurt him, but honestly, at this point, I don't care. It's that wretched Jenny girl. She's the one who has poisoned my love for him. I hope you receive this letter well. The reason why I didn't want to approach you about it in person is that I couldn't risk seeing the rejection on your face. I know you love Hugo like he's your brother, and most likely you won't approve. But I don't care. I'm giving you everything. The money, the house, the cars, and even my small businesses. They're all yours whether you like it or not. If you want to talk about this further, please call me, and we can discuss it. I look forward to hearing your response. I will love you forever and always, your second mom. I finally looked up from reading the letter and was met with a flurry of mixed emotions. A flurry of mixed emotions. Kyle looked like he was going to cry. Jack looked stunned, but Hugo looked like he was going to murder someone. I can't believe she said all those things. Is she being serious right now? So the reason why she's doing all of this is because of Jenny. She hates Jenny so much that she would not include me in her will just to spite me and Jenny. She's officially lost her mind, you guys. I don't even know what to say. This has gone far enough. I've had it with this woman and her toxic behavior. At that moment, I had an idea. It's a Quincy of teen. 1 week had gone by, and it was time for the designated Hawaii trip. Bria woke up and found a letter from her husband on her bedside table. It read, "Good morning, gorgeous. We decided to let you get some more beauty rest. Don't worry, your bags have all been packed. Just find us at the airport." Maria then got ready and headed to the airport, looking around frantically for the people with whom she was meant to go on this birthday trip. She tried calling them, but they all wouldn't answer. She assumed that they were already on the plane and therefore couldn't answer her call. She rushed frantically and boarded her flight, hoping to just meet them once they landed in Hawaii. She endured the 12-hour flight, and once she landed, she video called Kyle. "Hello, Kyle? It's the where the hell are you guys? I woke up late and saw your note, which was a cute idea if I hadn't woken up so late. She got to the airport and tried calling you guys, but none of you were responding. I just assumed that you already boarded, but it doesn't matter now because now we're in Hawaii. How amazing! Tell me where you are so we can meet up and let the festivities begin." "That won't be happening, Maria." "Well, what do you mean? Tell me where you are." "I'm at home." "What? You heard me? We're all at home. Say hi, everyone." Kyle panned out his phone to show that everyone himself, Jack, Hugo, and I were all in his house, sitting at the same dining table where we all heard the tragic news from a week before. "What do you mean? Why are you at home?" "You say Maria, Jenny, brought some interesting information to our attention a week ago, and ever since then, we decided that we'd much rather spend our time in boring old Florida with her than anywhere else with you." Maria gasped. "I think we wouldn't find out." "Find out what?" "Oh, that wretched girl that you hate so much, Jenny. found your stupid letter in the kitchen. I don't know what you're talking about, but Jenny is making everything up. I'm sorry. Are you so pathetic that it actually makes me sick? We all know what you said and what you tried to do. Thank God I was nosy enough to read the whole thing. Hugo, please, Maria. Enough is enough. You're done. You don't get to say anything else. You messed up big time. It sure had caused you to be blind. Now you have to suffer the consequences of being alone on your birthday because of what you've done. I hope you can use this time in Hawaii to reflect on your actions. But I'll be alone. It won't be fun. Maybe people would like to hang out with you more if you weren't such a raging witch. Have fun. And with that, Kyle hung up the phone. We all let out a sigh of relief. When I was the first person to start laughing, eventually Hugo joined in. And before we knew it, we were all bursting with laughter and cackling at the dining table, just laughing at how crazy the situation was. That's the look on her face when she realized the gig was up was hilarious. Her face turned pale. All the blood drained from her face, and I could tell that was the first time in a long time she felt embarrassed. Maria had to spend her vacation alone, often calling Kyle to see if he would at least come and join her because canceling the reservations she made would be expensive. But every time he kept denying it. He said that when she comes back, they would have to implement some ground rules if she still wanted to be married to him. Maria began to be very apologetic and frantic, a complete 180 from what she normally acted like, which was honestly surprising.
This is, if Maria still wanted to be in his life, she had to drastically change her attitude, otherwise he was ready to walk out of her life forever. There is season, there's Psalm. Their relationship is still rocky, and Hugo said that if Maria ever disrespected him, ever again, even if it's the smallest niter mark she could make, he would cut her off completely, the same way that she was planning on cutting him off.
As for Jack, he thought it best to stop being so nice to Maria, as it was clearly enabling her toxic behavior. So not only did Maria end up spending a miserable time in a beautiful place, but she also risked losing the 3 most important people in her life. She now has very rocky relationships with all of them, and she has to change to be better. As for me, I messaged her and told her that I need time to see if I'm going to forgive her for all of her injustices, and she was apologizing and begging for me to talk some sense into the man in her life. I obviously refused, stating that this is the bed she made for herself, and now she has to lay in it. She has to lay in it, and even to this day, Maria is still trying to mend the very broken relationships that she caused. I just hope that she learned her lesson.